Do we even need to really do this? Do we need to even talk about a show like this? What can be gained from a show like this? Okay, so at least there was no chihuahuas, there were no guys dressed up in big dog suits. You could at least say that. You could at least say that, but the fact that a show doesn't contain something so stupid like that, like I shouldn't even have to praise them for that. They should just know not to dress up people in dog suits. But instead, we get some extremely boring, extremely dull, extremely uninteresting NXT Raw invasion stuff that just makes Survivor Series seem so unappealing. I'm looking on Instagram at old clips of, the Hulk Hogan, Paul Orndorff, and, all these big time wrestlers teaming together. The Rock debuting, Survivor Series. You think of, the Deadly Game tournament. So many great Survivor Series memories. And then you just fast forward years and years later to the present day, and now we have this weird three-way, but it feels more like a handicap, like a Raw and SmackDown versus NXT. But like at the last minute, they remembered that these matches are going to be like triple threat style, like three-way things. So they just all of a sudden said, "Oh yeah, we should have." Raw invade SmackDown like at the last minute. And I didn't watch Raw, but I don't know how much invasion stuff they did on that show, but like if they did, like they waited to the absolute last week to do that. Like until this point, if you didn't tell me that those were triple threat matches, I would have just assume that they were handicap matches. And you could go back to last week's SmackDown review, and I was saying just that. How are these triple threat matches when all they've done is build up NXT going against SmackDown and Raw? And they've done that poorly. And who wants to see that? Who's watching NXT? People are barely watching SmackDown, and they're watching NXT even less, way less. So, like, I don't get, like, how by NXT being on SmackDown, this is supposed to be a draw. And, to all the goofballs out there that say they wish that the main roster was more like NXT, well, I have a lot of some very unkind words for you, I will just say. They have to do with things questioning your intelligence, questioning your common sense. You could really imagine that. But I mean, I have to say, are you out of your mind? Are you crazy to think that Triple H is a genius for putting something like Undisputed Era at the top of his company? Guys that don't even know how to throw proper punches. Guys that look like boys. They don't look like men. They don't look like tough guys at all. They look like jokes. You could say whatever you want about me. You could, attack me in the comments and say whatever you want, but the fact still remains. Remember that. You could kill the messenger. You could attack the guy with the opinion, but it's still going to remain the fact that those guys don't get ratings. Those guys are not over. These guys are a part of one of the most unpopular periods in wrestling. It's like, does there need to be proof? At what point do the wrestling fans, do the smarks finally admit that it's not DVR, it's not streaming online, it's a different time, it's a different world, it's a different day of the week, it's a different month, it's a different year, all the classic excuses. When is it that the show just flat out sucks, that it's bad, that the roster is not being handled well, characters are not being built, and some of the talent is just not where it needs to be, and it's not an entertaining show. So, I mean, when are we going to finally come to grips with that? The answer is probably never, Because as long as WWE caters to all the goofballs out there in the audience, then we're going to be seeing stuff like this for years to come. Years to come. So we start off with Roman Reigns giving a speech that he's going to leave, the door to the parking lot open so everyone can just, come right in. They're inviting in NXT and I guess Raw. And Sasha Banks gets in there. And, Sasha Banks is so cool. She could hang with the tough guys. And, Corbin is saying this is a bad idea. And Sasha comes in there and all the ladies follow behind her. Lacey Evans, Dana Brooke, and Carmella, and I like some of these girls, but I'm just saying, all right, this is how you start off the show. We're really supposed to get excited over this group of women headed to the ring. Oh, and you know what I love? And she's not the only one to do it, but she really, you notice with Sasha Banks, it's picking time here. We have to nitpick. And it's probably more than nitpick here because this just shows just how lame and cringy these wrestlers really are. So we've got Sasha Banks, and you notice how she does this thing where she's like, we're going to do this right now. And then she goes in the ring and then says the same exact thing. We're going to do this. She puts all the emphasis on right now. Oh, man, this is going to happen right now as opposed to later. I'm so excited for the show. I don't want this to happen right now. I don't want the invasion angle to happen right now. I don't want it to happen ever. So you've got Raw coming out. Oh, remember, Raw is going to be involved too. This is supposed to be a 3-way War Games match, and it's been confirmed. Why are they not even talking about the fact that these girls are going to be locked in a huge steel cage? Why are they not pushing the fact that this is the first time that we're seeing this on a big-time pay-per-view like Survivor Series? First of all, this is a match concept that they've been using in NXT, and it used to be one of the most look-forward-to things in WCW. They used to have it all the time at Fall Brawl. They used to remember one time they put the NWO, the Wolfpack in there, and it was huge, massive craziness. It was very interesting. 2 rings with a huge, massive cage. A Hell in the Cell cage with a roof on it, but it connects to the ring. There's no outside part. So, it's a pretty awesome concept, you gotta say, when you think about it structurally. But the fact that in NXT they've had just goofballs in there, jobber nobodies, indie guys. That excites the indie fans, but for the rest of us, we see it as a worthless concept. It's the fact that they do Starrcade, which is just a random live event. They add an extra R onto it. Never mind that that's the biggest WCW pay-per-view that there was. That was their WrestleMania Starrcade. But, they just treat these old concepts like a joke. So they're not even talking about the fact that these girls are going to be in this crazy match type. They're just assuming that you've watched NXT. That you've watched this show and you know what the hell War Games is. Well, if you haven't watched NXT, if you haven't watched a revival of this match gimmick in NXT, or did I say NXT twice? I mean WCW and in NXT in the revival that they've done of it, then you're not going to know what it is. And I don't feel like we're building towards such a huge, massive match like this. This should be a blow-off match between, there should have been these 2 huge, female factions. Revolutionary factions. But instead, it's just randomly thrown together teams. Honestly, are we really going to throw all these girls in here and not all of them are even good or big-time stars? I'm saying, go back to 1998, I believe it was. And you remember the NWO Black and White, the NWO Wolfpack. All those wrestlers were over. 100% without a shadow of a doubt over. and you knew they all deserved to be in there. That this was going to be the blow off to a big time feud that they had been paying off the whole year. Now it's just, let's randomly throw together whatever girls we have left. What, like, are you just absolutely insane here? Whichever girls are not going to be involved in the triple threat women's match. So, I don't understand. Like for the women's belt, they're just throwing all the extra people in this like War Games match, like leftovers for War Games. Like what? It's supposed to be, So you got Charlotte in there and everything, and this is just a big like mess. Like all these girls coming out, you don't even know who they are. Fox is bringing in, any casuals that happen to be tuning in that never watched NXT. They don't know who Rhea Ripley is. They don't know who Mia Yim is and all these other girls and Tegan Knox and all that. And randomly, like all of a sudden, Charlotte has a problem again with Sasha Banks just out of the clear blue sky. So then this leads to a match. It's a triple threat match with Rhea Ripley, and she defeats Charlotte and Sasha Banks. Of course, Charlotte's got to hit the moonsault, and she ends up with a bloody mouth. Like, there's no need to put these risks out there. Like, you would think with Alexa Bliss, who's been injured for like the 27th time, and you damn well know it's the concussions again, but hush, when it comes to concussions, we're not supposed to talk about that. So, but never mind, keep on doing the suicide dives, girls, the tope, con hilos, and all that. No, never mind the fact that Alexa Bliss's career is probably going to be in the same realm of Paige. Retired, can't wrestle anymore, doctors won't let her wrestle. I think that's probably where we're going there, but they don't want to talk about that. So, you watch this brawl and all this stuff, and did we was anyone excited for this? Or anyone really care? Oh, NXT! Oh my God, it's such garbage. Like, who are these girls? They have no personalities, no individualism to them. We're supposed to get excited about Tegan Knox and Mia. Who are they? Who are they? I don't want to hear, oh, they're good wrestlers. Is that all we want? The fact that, these girls could do a few flips and doodads in the ring? I mean, that's good enough for you guys, I suppose. But never mind that the ratings keep on falling. Let's not admit that there's a problem with the product. This is fine. This is great. Right, guys? This is great wrestling. This is what we want to see. We need more NXT, right? Triple H is a genius. It's all Vince McMahon's fault. Vince McMahon doesn't know what he's talking about. But if Triple H takes over the company, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. Because, I mean, look at NXT. It's so great. So, this is what wrestling was supposed to be. Yeah, sure. Okay. So, backstage, this is really weird. We got Sami Zayn. And Corbin calls him annoying, and then Sami Zayn tells him to come to the ring and call him annoying, but Corbin never comes to the ring, which is like Corbin is going to be challenged and he's not going to respond to Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn presents Naka Murphy with a new Intercontinental title. What do I think of it? I don't think it looks bad. I like the new Intercontinental title. They seem really obsessed with making every single title, like newer title, besides the World Championships, round. But if the title needs to be round, this looks good. I like it. It looks updated. Now all of a sudden people are complaining, oh, I want the old belt back. We've had that belt now for 8 years. And before that, the belt already existed prior to that, even when it had like a black strap. We had that belt, until Stone Cold threw it off the bridge. Remember? So that belt has been around now for decades, technically. So I'm okay with a new belt. Especially, it feels like we've progressed a little bit here. Instead of hanging on to the past, what they've been doing, hanging on to every shred of nostalgia. Hey guys, remember when we actually used to have good storylines and matches for the Intercontinental Title? Remember when we used to have champions like the Macho Man? Remember when we used to have, champions like Ken Shamrock? Yeah, remember all that? So, here's a belt to remind you of all those great champions. But here's your current champion, Naka Murphy. Here's your current champion, Finn Balor. Just, I'm sorry, but the classic belt, and people are saying this is because of Cody Rhodes. If that is true, because, Cody Rhodes was the one responsible for, getting that belt back into the company. Remember that when he was Intercontinental Champion? So, they don't want to now have that here's a belt that Cody Rhodes was responsible for bringing back. It's just so stupid if that is the truth. But it does kind of coincide with the current timetable, so I kind of see how that could be true. But it's just the belt. You know what I mean? Who the hell cares? Belt looks good. I like the design for what it is. Some people, they're saying it looks bad, and a lot of people are crying they want the old belt, but whatever. Seriously, who cares about the belt? They're just, they could also be this too. They want a new belt so more of these goofballs buy the replica belts. You ever think about that? That's probably the real reason. They probably had 100. They probably had those belts on standby, ready to go. So when you walk out of the arena, you could buy one of those belts. I bet. This brings out Sami Zayn, which, by the way, I also have to credit Zayn. The way he talks is very realistic. Compare this to the way Sasha Banks talks, and you will see a big difference. I might have made that comparison last week, but it still holds true. Sami Zayn has really come a long way. I really like this. Keep him out of the ring, but keep him on the mic. This guy knows what he's doing. He's a joy to listen to. He's entertaining. He's funny. I like the neuroticism about him, the facial expressions, how he's kind of goofy, nervous, and all this. And it works for him. I really think he's come into his own. So he starts making fun of Roderick Strong, saying he can't remember. First of all, I didn't even realize that they were gonna have a triple threat with AJ Styles. So basically, it's all the secondary champions are getting together. So Roderick Strong, AJ Styles, and Naka Murphy are all going to have a triple threat match. And so Adam Cole comes to the ring and he does that ridiculous Adam Cole, baby. And then we're introduced to Roderick Strong. And this is probably one of the blandest guys on the planet. But then they end up having a New Day comes out. They think that they're going to have a handicap match against New Day. But Heavy Machinery joins them. And of course, Roderick Strong gets the pin. They were doing all these really sloppy high and low moves, like a back elbow and a sweep. It all looked really bad. Why is it that all these indie guys do strikes, but all the strikes look bad? Why is there a big emphasis on strikes when you can't even throw a punch? They're better off just doing other moves because they look like garbage. You can't throw punches. How is it that you've got all these guys? I've said in NXT, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. Okay, how about a cruiserweight? Gregory Helms is there, right? Shane Helms, call him whatever you want. The Hurricane Helms. He's there. right? Think about how great of a worker he is. He threw strikes. He had believable punches. He had believable kicks. So why is everyone's offense looking like this? Looks like a bunch of... I've seen cartoons. I've seen animators draw better fight scenes. Cartoons throwing more believable looking punches. I'm not even joking. You think that's a joke? You think I'm trying to sound... No, I'm being honest here. I've actually seen punches in cartoons look more violent, look more real than a punch from Bobby Fish. I mean, Kyle O'Reilly. And not only that, you're looking at these guys and they're trying to look tough. They don't look tough at all. These guys don't look mature. They look like a bunch of boys. They look like a bunch of like really overgrown teenagers. These are not the faces of stars. And you know, you have to really take that into consideration. I talk about character development, but you also have to have a certain look to you. So you see a guy like Otis, that's a guy with a look. You see a guy like Big E, that's a guy with a look. You see the four guys, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick. Hey, I finally learned all their names. So, here's the thing about them. None of them look like superstars. You think about the term. They don't call them wrestlers, right? It's WWE Superstars. It's NXT Superstars. It's Smackdown Superstars. It's Raw Superstars. These are not superstars. They're indie workers. They're internet darlings. They're gods to the message board derelicts. You know, that's who these guys are. It doesn't matter if you give like Adam Cole the most killer gimmick on the planet. He's still gonna look like an indie nobody. Because there's just nothing there. And I'm sorry if you think that this guy's a great worker, but for the rest of us, like I'm saying, look at the ratings. They're on Fox now. Fox has top-rated shows. So I don't want to hear this, you know something, if the show was that great, people would not be DVRing it. People would be watching it live on the spot as it's happening. Why would they risk spoilers and all that? How come people watch football games live? Why do all those things get big-time ratings, but WWE shows don't? With WWE, when an NFL game gets bad ratings, people will say, well, it was a bad game. The teams that were playing were uninteresting to the audience. But when it comes to WWE, we got to have the excuses. Oh, well, it was this, and it was that, and it was the other thing, and my uncle came over, and he blocked the TV, which affected the ratings. It interfered with the signal to the cable company. Oh, come on! What are we doing here? What are we saying? It was a bad show. That's why no one watched it. I mean, like you guys with the excuses all the time, just to make NXT look good and worth watching and make it seem like it's important. It's wrestling. It's garbage. It's trash. It's refuse. It's like it's the city dump personified as wrestlers. It's bad. It's not good. And you say it's good, but it's factually untrue. You're allowed to have an opinion. If you think it's good, but don't make like this stuff is successful, that it's things that people want to see. You want to see it, but everyone else is tuning out. No one wants to see this because it's bad, it's garbage. And when you turn on the TV and you see a guy say, it's Adam Cole, baby. Are you really going to keep the dial tuned to that station on a Friday night? Honestly, are you? Okay, maybe you will, but I don't think everyone else is going to. And you got Otis. Like, why is it that the most entertaining, most charismatic guy in the match? Okay, I like Big E too, but I'm just saying, why does Otis have to get pinned? Like out of everybody, like they make sure. Oh, Otis, you're over with the crowd, huh, buddy? Well, we got to make sure you eat a pin here. And it's got to be the Roderick Strong of all people. Does it really look like a guy like Roderick Strong could hold Otis's shoulders to the mat for 3? A guy the size of Otis? Does it really look like that's believable? It's just like, guys, why haven't I been reviewing AEW like the past 2 weeks? Scorpio Sky pinning Chris Jericho? Also, let's talk Impact Wrestling for a little bit. Tessa Blanchard pinning Brian Cage's shoulders to the mat? What is going on in wrestling? I mean, what happened? Where's the disconnect here? Where's the believability? I know it's fake, but I've said in the past it's their job to try to make this stuff so entertaining as possible, so your mind begins to wander and you forget about that you're watching a predetermined form of entertainment. You know, it's called escapism. It's very hard for me to escape reality when you're taking me so far out of it and you're disengaging me with stupidity like this. Okay, so Sami Zayn comes out and he attacks Roderick Strong with a chair and he attacks AJ Styles. And you gotta love, like, okay, so AJ and Nakamurphy are getting away. Oh, the Undisputed Era, there's 3 other guys. But they, like, do this weird thing where they kind of, like, stop. And it's like, oh, we're not having a brawl. Oh, imaginary barrier. It's like, what? This guy just hit your friend with a chair. Chase him into the back, right? Oh, it's an invasion, right? Of course not. You can't go backstage. There's 3 of them. Don't go backstage. Hey, how about Gallows and Anderson? No, you know what they're going to do instead? They're going to cut a promo. And the fans are so uninterested. Oh, we want NXT, but instead we're going to cheer for CM Punk. Because it's the Chicago crowd. This is one of the most annoying crowds that there is. It's one of the smarkiest crowds. Every single time they come here, CM Punk, CM Punk. Well, CM Punk is back, but, oh, that's right, he's working for Fox. If you haven't had someone remind you that on the internet for the 800th time, go check your Twitter feed. I'm sure there's some goofball in there. He works for Fox. He could still work for AEW. It's still possible, guys. Oh, my God. Like, you know, if you need a reason to not watch wrestling, it's the fans. I mean, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but the fans are just as bad as the product, if not worse. Or it's got to be at least even. If it's not one or the other, the fans are probably worse. Because the thing is, at least these people are not really these people. Well, some of them are. You know, at least they're playing characters. They're playing baby faces and heels. But these fans, these are real people. That's what makes it even worse. So Daniel Bryan is in the ring and he's cutting a promo on The Miz, and he's cutting a promo on Bray Wyatt, and Bryan really, like, you compare this to Adam Cole, and you really see like how an indie guy actually, improved himself. But I always say that, with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, they're from a period in WWE before it became really indieized, if that's a word. So you can see a clear difference why it's Bryan and Punk who are able to cut the good promos, but Adam Cole and Roderick Strong are still cutting, indie, like really like cheesy, stupid, like not TV level style promos. Like I still can't begin to even like tell you, like, guys, they're on Fox. They're on Fox. Like, I don't think people understand like what a high standard that is. That you're watching this on Fox, like a channel that broadcasts like real sports and entertainment and edgy shows and stuff like that, like revolutionary shows, and then you've got this garbage on there. And they're not holding WWE accountable. They're still letting guys like Adam Cole, baby, appear on the TV. If Fox was taking them to task, and there were rumors about them doing so, especially after, that ridiculous like dog costume segment, you gotta believe that we would have at least got a decent show this week, but we didn't. So anyway, back to Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is cutting the promo in the ring, but they followed up with The Miz because, like, he didn't let The Miz talk last week. So, like, The Miz doesn't even have a problem with this last week, but he's got a problem with it this week. So I guess they followed up on it, sort of, but it wasn't even addressed last week, so I was just kind of like, before I clicked the YouTube video, I was like, why is The Miz randomly coming out? And I was like, oh, yeah, technically that was a Miz TV segment, I think. And it was. So they have a match. And then Bray Wyatt appears and puts the mandible claw on him. And that's it. That's your build. No Firefly Funhouse. Nothing interesting, nothing weird or, Fiend-like to really... Just basically the same thing we saw that started the storyline in the first place. Daniel Bryan getting put in the mandible claw. But except it not being backstage, it's in the ring. Originality? Seriously, like how original... that it's the same thing, but just in a slightly different setting. Could we get anything new, unique, interesting, creative, something that actually requires a little bit of thought and time put into it? No, of course not. And is it me, or do I cringe every single time Michael Cole yells out, "Mandible Claw"? Well, at least he didn't start screaming it over and over like he did in the past. Alright, so then we go on. We got Shayna Baszler calling out Bayley. She starts getting the drop on Bayley, but then Bayley gets the drop on her. She slams her into the ring post, and Shayna Baszler just left standing there, not really looking so tough anymore. And for some reason, Becky Lynch is not there. Everyone else is invading, but Becky Lynch, I guess, the man decided to take the night off. Like, okay, so, it's like, I mean, not like having Becky being out there, having cringy Lynch being out there would be any better. But, like, at least commit to it. If that's the match, you're not going to even involve any of them. It's just like, okay, well, at least we have Bayley and Baszler there, so... right? 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right, guys? So then we go on to the main event, and we've got Baron Corbin, Ziggler, and Bobby Roode, and they defeat Roman Reigns, Shorty G, and Ali. And at least Shorty G didn't have that ridiculous G logo tank top on. Instead, it was just shorts. Ali gets hit with the deep six. Corbin gets the pin. He actually got the pin with that move. He didn't actually have to hit the end of days. I'm very impressed. But I don't understand, like, for a big guy, he had to, like, do some type of cradle roll-up on such a small guy. Whatever. Anyway, the Raw guys randomly run out. Then it's time for NXT, but we're not just getting NXT. Triple H is coming on the same truck or, the same Jeep. Remember when they invaded the Norfolk Scope? Remember when they did that? And, so now that they're coming out on that same Jeep, and this time they're actually getting inside. But this time they're being led by a group of, well, I guess they're leading the charge, but it's all the NXT guys are by their side, and everyone just runs into the ring, and there's just some big brawl. It's just a big mess. There's like 40, 50 guys out there. Braun Strowman comes charging out, and Keith Lee is there, and like, I've never seen such a sea of humanity, and I'm just like, I don't care about any of this. Like most of these guys, we don't have a reason to care about anybody. Most of these guys, there's nothing even there's nothing even to get excited about here. We got Heath Slater with a kendo stick. It's totally random. He's not even involved in anything, and yet he's out there. Like, oh, I'm brand supremacy. Like, dude, they haven't even put you on TV, and all of a sudden, like, we're just gonna start rallying around our brand. Who cares about this? And this is like so stupid. We talk about this year after year. This is a fake war. These companies are all just shows on WWE. So having them like fight against each other, like, does anyone see a point to any of this? And you even have Corey Graves going out on the show, after the bell or whatever it's called, and he literally said that modern day Survivor Series sucks. And I might be paraphrasing there, but he said it's not good, and he even admitted that the fans are not into it. So why are we doing this? If the announcer on SmackDown, who's there week after week, has analyzed that the crowd doesn't like it, the fans don't like it, the home TV audience is not liking it, then what is the point of doing this show? Not even the Smarks care. So why? Why are you even bothering doing this nonsensical garbage? Like, I don't understand. Like, how can this guy actually be on a WWE programming shooting about how bad Survivor Series is going to be, and they're going through with Survivor Series the way how Graves is saying that it doesn't work, and they're still going to put it out there anyway? You tell me. You give me an explanation how that makes sense. How this guy, where he's sitting out there week after week, is being allowed to go on the show, say how bad it is, and then it's like, okay, we'll go out there anyway and call it. They're not listening to that. They're not listening to what this guy Graves says. And you guys know, I think that Graves is a complete goofball, but the guy is right. I mean, it's kind of hard to go against that because this is a total mess. You got a bunch of guys coming out there. It's like way too late for the Raw involvement. They're like, right, the last, I'm angry at SmackDown. Like, okay, you weren't angry at them 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden it's like, you would think that, okay, well, we're the main roster, so we're going to go against the developmental guys. Like, so they're not even telling that story. They're like, oh, these developmental guys are hungry. They want to try to take our spots. Like, no, it's like, oh, we hate the NXT guys, but we also hate you too. What? Like, you know what I mean? This would make more sense if it was Raw and SmackDown versus NXT. It makes no sense this way. I could start to see how that type of brand supremacy might happen, because then that would be interesting. Imagine if they got Vince McMahon out there. I mean, we would still be seeing some goofball developmental indie darlings that have no personality and don't look like stars. But there would be at least some interesting element there. I would like to see some of the Smarks crying when the main roster guys bury the NXT guys, but to me, it seems like they're actually having a lot of the NXT guys bury the main roster guys, which makes no sense at all. I don't even know why McMahon is allowing Triple H to do that, or maybe he just doesn't care, or he sort of cares, and he's just going both ways. But I don't know. But this whole thing was garbage, and to like bring like you're really gonna seriously use that DX stuff, in juxtaposition with the NXT garbage. Like you're gonna like do like one of the greatest segments of all time, which by the way was an idea of Vince Russo's, who, you know, they spare no expense bringing guys on to talk about how bad Russo was. You know, but he came up with this idea, and you're going to reuse it in probably one of the most forgettable segments that probably no one even watched anyway, because the second hour towards the end of the show, everybody tunes out anyway. So, was there a point to doing that nostalgic trip? Like, what was the point? Oh, I'm sure they thought, oh, this is a cool moment, right? And you don't even really get to see them. You know what I mean? It was very, like, out of focus. You know, having them there, like Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I mean, so it's, you know, and it's just some big brawl erupted, and you're just seeing a lot of guys doing a lousy shots and everything like that. It's just no, sorry, but this is not exactly the, you know, I felt like maybe they were trying to once again, I think they did this last year with Raw and SmackDown, but I always feel like they're trying to go for 2001 Survivor Series, which many people consider that to be one of the greatest SmackDown closers of all time, and I definitely agree with that. It's an awesome closer with everyone hitting their finishers. It's just craziness, and a crowd that's going absolutely bananas because you've got like Stone Cold and The Rock, Jericho, Undertaker, Booker T. Everyone's in this like an A-list superstar rundown, you know. But here you've got Adam Cole. You know, and you know, and a bunch of other nobodies. Like, oh God. Anyway, guys, I don't know. Survivor Series is this Sunday. Is anyone going to watch that garbage? Anyway, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.